What's up, everyone? Welcome to BullishAF. I am Whit Gibbs, and today I am joined by the one and the only Charles Reed. Charles, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, man. Very aptly named show for how I'm feeling. So I figured why not?
Look at you, all calm and demeanor, even though everything that you're working on is popping
It's
off
good, man.
100x right now.
Yeah, well, this is what you work towards during times when everyone else is quiet, right? You have to keep building, and then, when this time in the cycle comes around, that's when you can just kind of sit back and relax. I say relax, I'm not relaxing. I'm working like 14 hours a day.
I was going to say, dude, like when I went to sleep, you were on it. And then when I woke up this morning at 4:30, you were on it, right? I don't know, man. It seems to me like now sleep is too boring because of everything else that's going on, right?
Well, I would love to say that, but I have a newborn baby. So there is that as well, like that's why I was up at 4:30. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't get up at 4:30 if I have to. I actually have a rule where I don't have any calls before 10 a.m. because I'm not a morning person. I can sit on Telegram and emails, but I am not speaking to anyone before 10, like even before baby life. But no, when I do wake up because she's crying or whatever, I'm like, Telegram. And my girlfriend, bless her, she's like, why are you working? It's like 4 a.m. Just go back to sleep. But it's a really exciting time, as you know. So you got to just be on the front foot.
Well, it's crazy how quickly things have turned, right? We went through such an extended bear market with alts, and now it seems like in the last 4 months, and this is what we've been waiting for, right?
For sure. Even probably, 4 months is maybe even a bit generous. I know, like, kind of March time is when we started seeing like a little bit of move, and people were like zoomed in on the chart and they're like, oh, we're pumping 80%, and then they're selling. And then you zoom out and, this is like the chart's just like, and then there's a little pump here. And like, that's where people are selling. And then it keeps running. I mean, me and you, I think we picked up Noya at like 1 cent. And that was like probably 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. It's nearly 10 cents now. That's a 10x in like, less than 12 weeks. So, yeah, it does feel like, we're finally back at that stage. But, I also have some thoughts on that because I still feel like we're operating in a small like circle of people, especially with the DeFi stuff, because a lot of people, even bigger accounts on Twitter, bigger, content creators, they don't understand how to use Uniswap, and they don't really like using DEXs. They kind of like using a centralized exchange. So I think we still have a lot more room to go, but obviously urge caution as well.
Well, and so that's kind of my speed, right? Like I haven't delved into any of the DeFi stuff as far as, Uniswap or getting going with the liquidity pools on there, or doing yield mining. So I definitely want us to talk about that. You mentioned Noah or Noya, however you say it. And it's, I think, the prime example of where we are at in the cycle, right? Because like we got in at a cent, and I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not holding any of it anymore. But what I'm doing is looking like when it retraces to pick up, and it's a nice little swing play, right? You're able to get a solid 20-30% over and over and over again. And you gotta love,
it's a good market for
KuCoin
that.
for those movements.
Well, you know what? It's funny. I actually am holding. I kept buying, and I didn't sell a single token. And mostly it's because KuCoin bags are like low liquidity, and you affect the market when you try and exit. And also because I spent so much time on Uniswap the past couple of months, I forgot that I had a Noya bag. So I logged into KuCoin and saw it's like 10x. And I was like, holy shit, like no one's even really talking about it. I know Scott, who I think he was on the show before, he actually tweeted the other day, like Noya is a gem. And obviously it's done really well over the past few months, but I didn't realize how well, because I've just been so focused on what's coming next, what's the new thing, what's the new play, trying to be ahead of the game. And I forget sometimes I have these bags I picked up 3 months ago.
So like, not to get too far into your process and, divulge too many of your secrets, but when you're looking for some of these gems, what's the process like for you?
Well, look, I'm not, if you think you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. So
Sure.
I'm always looking where's the smart money? Who was ahead of the game before? Who did I follow last time? And then I'm looking what they're looking at and who they're following and what they're looking at. And look, my absolute, kind of saving grace in this market that I've been building for 2-3 years is my network. And I know some really smart folks, and they were way ahead of the game on this DeFi thing. And being open to smart people. And also the funny thing is, there's this whole in it for the tech meme,
Yeah.
which, everyone's like, oh, you're in it for the tech or you're in it for the money. And the people who were actually in it for the tech have actually now, they've got their time to kind of shine, because
Right.
all these dexes and yield farming and stuff, like, they're the people who actually really understand what's going on. The people
Yeah.
who actually ironically came for the technology and who got memed for like the whole previous bull market, but they were the ones who were reading in the bear market and now outperforming the market. So I think there's been this big transition from like centralized exchanges. Now we're going to dexes, and that's the tech speaking for itself. Really, that was always going to happen.
Well, and the DeFi thing is, I think it's the ultimate goal that crypto's been working towards, right? The banking the unbanked, being your own bank, allowing people to have the traditional financial services through non-traditional means. When you're going into all of this and you're doing research, how are you differentiating project to project with DeFi? They all seem very similar to me.
Yeah, and a lot of them are. And look, to be honest with you, like, my mentality right now is I have my long-term plans, but I'm also really looking for what's going to outperform the market on a short term. And a lot of cases there is, I'm not really looking for like, what's necessarily going to provide better yield, because I'm not necessarily looking to farm yield. What I'll be doing is looking to farm a governance token, which is going to be airdropped in 2 or 3 months, because I know the market will go crazy for it. So it's more of a, what I'm looking for really is where the money's going. And on a longer time frame with these DeFi projects and the yield farming, they're going to be more accessible for everyone, and you will be able to make good returns on stable assets. But most people who are using them at the moment, or at least a large portion, they're actually only using them to get access to things like governance tokens,
Sure.
which they think are bullish assets.
All right, the talk is out about the bubble, right? DeFi is the new bubble. It's the new ICO craze. Say whatever you will. What are your thoughts on just the entire situation right now?
Well, I think it's good, but like I mentioned, I think we're still operating in quite a small pool of people, because we've gone from this evolution of ICO to an IEO, and now we're doing IDO, which is initial DEX offering on things like platforms like Dolomite and Mesa, and having auctions like MetaStable did, and there's still only a very small amount of market participants. So yes, we're in a bubble, absolutely, but we're still very much, in an echo chamber. So people think, oh, the top's nearly in, and it might be on, a local top. If you look at things like Lend,
Right.
that chart looks, incredible, and there might be a local top, but for these smaller Uniswap picks, for the low liquidity picks, for these bootstrapped, community driven governance picks, we're still in an echo chamber with not many people, and therefore I still think it's very bullish for the next 3 months or more.
So how are you judging market cap and all of this? Because like Lend now has a massive market cap. It's also on Binance. There's a ton of liquidity behind it, right? And it pumps so hard because all of those factors were in place already, I think, at least when the DeFi craze hit, right? It was the DeFi token that everyone could trade.
Mhm.
So how are you now? Is it TVL, total value locked, that you're looking at, or is it more of a market cap play?
Yes and no, but the total value locked is good. But typically by the time it starts to reach a really high number, that asset's already kind of peaked, at least in the short term. And again, I think long term assets like Kyber and synthetics will continue to outperform the market. But in the
Mm-hmm.
very short term, what I'm looking at is things which people haven't picked up yet, because that's how you get your faster returns. But if you're a longer term investor, I think, it's quite clear which assets are really bullish, and it is your synthetics and your Kyber network, possibly your Rune, even though, we haven't seen mainnet yet. So, what I'm looking for really is, to be honest, who's bullish on it? Like I said before, I'm looking at who's bullish on it,
Smart money.
and if it's smart people, and yeah, I yield farm, but not much, because I think there are very quick gains to be made with them coins, and the only time I've yield farmed in the recent was to access governance tokens that were going to be airdropped.
All right. So what the fuck is yield farming?
Yeah, so look, I'm not the best person to talk about this, so I'll just put my hands up there. But there's a big incentive around providing liquidity to the market, and then lending and borrowing. So yield farm will allow you to stake your assets and earn passive returns on them.
Gotcha.
Based on the pools that are on offer. So it's you've got obviously your ETH lens and compound, which offer standard returns, yearly returns. But this isn't really a new thing for crypto.
Right.
Nexo offer it. Cred, who are partnered with Trust Token, they've offered 8% lending returns for probably coming up to 2 years now.
Yeah.
And 8% is good money. You won't get that from the bank, no way.
Right.
But what we've seen now is protocols which can automate or make it easy to to farm the best assets, or to leverage trade your assets, so that you borrow, you mint DAI to borrow another stable coin, and then you kind of lock it up and leverage long. And that's when you get the flash crashes, when loads of people are leveraged, and it's just like a house of cards, right? But I'm not the best person to talk about that. I'll put my hands up. I've tried to stay on the front foot with the yield farming thing, but what the pattern I've seen is the bullishness comes from owning a piece of the protocol, which, like Compound, allows you a vote in the direction of the technology. Right. So that's why I've kind of been on the front foot with that. And I love this idea of being able to bootstrap a project when they list a token on like a DEX, and you can just say, okay, we're in, rather than some of these layer ones, like they raise like 60 million, and there's just loads of false promises, and then how do you make your money on that when it hits market and it's got like it's in the top 50? You really have to be involved to do that.
God, man. Oh, so as a startup CEO, $60 million, right? And it's when I hear that, it's crazy to me, because I mean, the hype cycle is real. I think we all understand that if you've got a token attached to your project, it's much easier to raise money in crypto, right? But this is just, I mean, that's nuts.
Well, I mean, look at Telegram.
Yeah.
Telegram raised like $1 billion. And and they had to refund it all. And look, I know a lot of OTC communities and a lot of VCs who sold on their allocation, sometimes at like a 2x what they paid. So if you think Telegram raised approximately $1 billion, and then you think about all the markups and the commissions that were taken by people selling on, it's just wild, man.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely crazy. It's no wonder the SEC were like, what the fuck is going on here? Like this, we can't let this happen.
Well, and eventually there's got to be some kind of regulation to come down on these kinds of things. I mean, I think there's validity in DeFi to an extent. Obviously, any kind of money-making endeavor, there's going to be a hype train. There's going to be people that try to jump on it and make some cheap, easy money. But I do believe that there are actual movers that are doing the right thing in the space, and hopefully those are able to shine. When you talk about the market looking toppy, we're all kind of waiting on that Bitcoin move that wrecks shop, right?
Yeah, until it doesn't, Bitcoin movements have always wrecked alts, apart from once, which was the last bull market. I mean, do we want to see that again? Hell yeah, we do. But on the topic of, before we move on the topic of people cracking down on some of these DeFi teams, I think it's really interesting, because some of these protocols are, launched they raise capital and then they launch to market and they turn off all their, admin switches. So they can't do anything with the tech anymore. And then they'll have like, a proposal system where someone can vote for a change to the network. For example, a token burn. So, token burn is pretty much borderline illegal, and
Right.
will get you in a lot of trouble with Securities Exchange Commission. But if you vote it into a decentralized network, what can the SEC do? Nothing,
Hmm.
because it's just a piece of software now. So that's what people are doing. I mean, Compound are doing stuff like that, which is genius, to be honest, because once it's gone to market, the VCs can vote for what they want. They'll vote for ways to make themselves more money. And
Yeah.
that's where, the truly decentralized networks they're gonna crush it, because you can throw the founder in jail, but like, what's it going to achieve? And
Right.
the people who are prosecuting, they're smart enough to understand that. So I think they're running scared right now, to be honest.
The big winner I think that will come out of this whole DeFi craze is FTX. When I look at all of the exchanges, and they've been, balls out leading the crowd for quite a while now. I think. I mean, they're gaining a lot of speed on Binance. They're gaining a lot of traction, I should say, rather. Sam is obviously great. He and his team at like putting great products out quickly, and he's really just jumped. He's jumped the gun on a lot of things to make sure that they are at the forefront of like listing some of these DeFi projects that nobody wants to, or nobody is taking on,
Indeed, yeah,
as
and
early as they should.
it's interesting because the space has been dominated by centralized exchanges since the beginning, because that's where you would go to trade assets, where you'd feel safe, and their pie is being eaten right now so
Yeah.
aggressively. Like the DEX volumes are up to they're obliterating their all-time highs in the past 2 months, and the centralized exchanges, they are scared about it. I know they
Hmm.
are, because they're seeing their volume drop off.
Right.
And some of the smart ones, they're ninja listing. They just list contracts of tokens they know are DeFi and they know they bring volume. So MXC and Bilaxi have done this. It's really,
Yeah.
really smart. That's how you get volume, is you just list an asset no one else will list. And
Right.
then the people who don't use Uniswap will come to you. So, I think you're absolutely right about FTX. They've been really big innovators, and I think Binance they're lagging now. And I really love the contracts you can trade. The Move contract and the DeFi contract, and being able to bank on the whole DeFi market rather than
Yeah.
just like, what do I choose? And I think that's just really smart. If you're bullish on DeFi, you can trade all these alts and have a long open for the DeFi market, which is
Yeah.
just genius. So yeah, hats off to Sam. He's been crushing it, and team.
Binance is great. I think that I mean, there's gains to be made there, but if you're looking for a coin or a token that's really going to move, it seems to be happening off of Binance. There'll be the one-offs here and there that'll pull a 2x or a 3x, but most of those are going to come. I think, as far as the centralized exchanges, in my experience, KuCoin, Huobi, and some of the others that are, let's say, more active in making sure that their tokens are attractive to trade.
Yeah, indeed. And Huobi are the masters of the scam pump.
It's the
Uh,
best.
it's so crazy, man. I mean,
Best.
like 2 or 3x's in like a day and no one notices.
Iris, bro. Iris. That was Iris. I bought Iris on the listing pump yesterday.
Of
Like
course you did. Oh, you
Binance,
did.
yeah, Binance announced, and I had some
I
extra
missed
coin.
it. I missed it,
I
man. I was too busy.
went hard.
Oh man, a good play though. I mean,
One day 2x.
and it's that season, yeah, where if you buy the listing, you will make money. You buy the
Mm-hmm.
announcement, you make money. I've not felt this, like you're buying. I mean, assets are just suddenly, we're launching a DeFi market, we're launching a DeFi product, and they're pumping like 60%, and it's
Yeah.
like that's the time again. And I know that a lot of wealth has been created, and that's where you have to watch the flow of money, and
Mm-hmm.
that everyone else is following announcements, following
Right.
DeFi. So if you're ahead of the game, you can make a lot of money. Um, but you know, it's also super shady because some of these teams are now just like, you know, trying to recover so they can dump on us again,
Yep.
and a lot of people will get burned again. So, you know, be careful with what you're getting involved with. Make sure you actually understand it, because a lot of projects are just strapping DeFi onto their company name and trying to raise 500,000, and they will. They'll raise half a
Yeah,
million. It will
they
take a
will.
week. They'll be oversubbed. They'll list, and then they'll do a rug pull. And they won't ship anything that's, you know, that's tangible. So, you know, there's teams claiming that they have better tech and better token than projects who've been building DeFi for 2.5, 3 years, and now
Hmm.
people coming along, we could do all of this and better. And it's like, yeah, that's a big red flag. You really have to be careful with that, even if you just ride it for the pump.
Yeah, and you gotta have rules in place, and you gotta stick to them. You know, like when you're entering a one of these plays, like Ergo is one that is a recent one for me, and I like the fundamentals behind it, but it's already had, you know, somewhat of a pump. There are already some bag holders of that token, right?
For
So I'm
sure.
just very mindful of price action on that. Where there's other ones like, you know, some of these other really low caps on KuCoin that I'm not going to mention right now that are, you know, 1-2 sats that I go heavy at because they haven't had a proper pump. They've got good fundamentals. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
their marketing presence hasn't really picked up yet. And all it's going to take is a little bit of time, right? And there's
Mm-hmm.
really not a lot of risk to taking. I mean, if you're looking at something that's 1 sat on KuCoin,
Mm-hmm. What they're
uh,
going to do? List a Litecoin pair,
yeah,
or
man. I mean, so that's it.
uh,
You get to a point where you
mm,
know it's not going to drop below a certain point without getting delisted, and if it's going to get delisted, then you're going to get the delisting pump, right? So, like, there's just risk mitigation. It's
yeah,
exciting.
you
It's
made a good
exciting.
point. You know, particularly with projects that raise like, you know, tens of millions in 2017, 2018, and they had one pump, and people bought on the way up, and then people have been selling all the way down, and they're waiting for relief pumps to exit. And there's like, you know, tens of millions of dollars worth of investment that's down like 75, 80, even more percent. And any sign of a pump, they're going to try and exit. So you have to remember you're buying into loads of bag holders. And I think that's why projects like Doge didn't really get the pump that we thought they would, because there are so many bag holders when charts look
Yeah,
like that, and that the more they pump, the more times they pump like that, the more bag holders get trapped, and now
absolutely.
there's limited upside. And I think Doge could have, you know, another Hail Mary, but this is something people have to consider, and why I favor, like you said, some of these lower cap projects, which they do have good tech, they have a good team, they've been humble, they raise less cash, and they have less bag holders, and there's, you know, untold upside from them. And that's why a lot of these Uniswap projects are doing well, because they didn't raise any cash. They're just bootstrapping a community with liquidity.
Do you remember Banca? Do you remember that bag from back in the day? I don't know if you were
Banker, I
Banca.
don't.
Dude, Banca was a hit BTC shitcoin, and it was like that was the play that brought me back from the dead when like 2018 after I lost my ass, right? Um, Korean Jew and Nye had
Really?
talked about it. Yeah,
Oh, I
dude.
do. Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah,
I remember, now you say Korean Joe, I remember him saying bunker,
yeah,
bunker. So
dude.
I remember now. Yeah, I never touched it myself. I don't remember what it is, but I do. I
It,
did hear about it.
it was like so. As I look back on it, I'm like, man, if they would have just hung with it for another couple of years, because they were a DeFi play as well, like kind of, they were like
Okay.
online financial advice, but they could easily have spun into this DeFi
Yeah.
hype. It's funny, man. Looking back on all of these different shit coins that you trade. Um, Somebody had posted today that, you know, they trade shit coins to stack Bitcoin, and I had commented on that's good for Bitcoin, right? Because if you're selling these shit coins, then you're buying Bitcoin to get
Hmm.
out of them, right? Uh, it's very interesting to see how people view, like Maxis view altcoin traders or people who are you know, digging into DeFi right now.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't. The maxi culture is very weird when it comes to this
It
time
is,
of
it
year.
is. And I see that, you know, I have pretty strong thoughts on that. I think, you know, I understand well, I don't. I won't pretend I do. But you know, the maxi mentality is basically just neglecting, you know, a whole ecosystem of technology just because you think that this is the only way it should be done. And the thing is, Bitcoin, if you believe is supposed to be a currency, a lot of these altcoins aren't supposed to be currencies. They're supposed to genuinely have utility.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think, you're basically disregarding the whole Web3 stack when you just maxi on Bitcoin. And funny you say, a lot of people sell shit coins into Bitcoin. I personally now, I trade the ETH pair or the USDT pair, and I'm stacking ETH. I'm so bullish on ETH because all this value is trapped in ETH. It's not trapped in Bitcoin. A lot of Bitcoin's now on ETH because people are wrapping it so that they can stake it on ETH network.
Yep.
So, I'm long-term bull on Bitcoin, but I think we're seeing more and more people who are stacking crazy amounts of ETH, and it's only so long before we have this crazy ETH rally, which I think will lead the market. It's hard to see what will happen, of course, but I think ETH's gonna possibly outperform Bitcoin in the next 12 months.
Well, it's really hard to imagine it not, considering, like you said, all the value trapped in it right now, all the hype that's on DeFi. When that pops, well, now what? When and if, let's say, when and if it pops, right? If it tops out, there's a lot of people that are trading those ETH pairs, trading into Tether. So, yeah.
And there's also a lot of people with a lot of stable coins now because they're yield farming. You've got people leverage long yield farming and earning hundreds of % returns a month.
It's crazy.
And then where do you think that money's going to go? They're going to buy Bitcoin with it when Bitcoin looks bullish. And it's only a matter of time. When Bitcoin shows signs of life, all of that stable coin money will go into Bitcoin because they'll chase that pump and they'll make it pump more. So a lot of people are bearish. People are going for 3, 4, 5, 7K. Like, fuck that. Like, you are not looking at the big picture. And if we do see 7K again, I don't think it's bearish for the market. I don't think we're going to see another bear market for a while. I think we're in good shape, and I'm goddamn happy about it, Whit.
Hey, man, listen, when it comes to the price of Bitcoin, I'd love to see it get above 10K and hover there, just for all of the miners out there, because these are dire times for people that are Bitcoin mining. And they're, a lot of the Bitcoin miners are diversified into other ways of making money in crypto, right? So there are Bitcoin maximalists that mine, but a lot of the miners, they're profit driven, right? So they're always looking at ways that they can make money. I would just like to see Bitcoin above 10K so that the alts can continue to have their fun, and then Bitcoin miners can continue to support the network.
Yeah, absolutely. They deserve it, man. They kept us going this long. I owe a lot to Bitcoin miners. I'll tell you that much. Thank you. And thank you, Hashrate, for facilitating, that as well. But no, I completely agree. And I think we will see it above 10K before long. I'm bullish, man. I'm really bullish. I have been for a couple of months. I've been watching closer and closer. And now is 14-hour workday season. So everyone should get the hell on it. And if you're not making money, you're trading the wrong stuff. The majors and the majors will have their time. There's no doubt about it, but it's not right now, and you're missing out.
Okay, so let's say there's someone who is newish, right? And none of this is financial advice. If you're watching this, we're not financial advisors. This is
definitely
just opinions. There are tokens that I've mentioned that I own. This is not, this is nothing but, information for us, and then hopefully people are having fun as they're watching it. But exchanges, if people are uncomfortable on Uniswap or some of the DEXs, what are some of the centralized exchanges that you find the most value in using?
Okay, so I like KuCoin. KuCoin's got a lot of pairs. I know some of the guys at KuCoin. They've done a good job. It's got pretty good volume, and if you're new, it's a good place to trade. Of course, Binance, you're going to go to Binance. But what I would really, really suggest for anyone listening is, if you don't feel comfortable on Uniswap, is to learn about how, hardware wallets and web wallets work, because you are so much safer trading from a web wallet than you are from a centralized exchange. And it's because you own your private key and you're trading directly from your private key. So as long as you're comfortable, you can look after your private key, you are much safer. Because if Uniswap goes down, you won't, there's no issues. There might be some bugs with liquidity pools, but your actual assets, they're always in your wallet. And when you swap them, they swap automatically. They're never held by a custodian. So it's definitely worth learning about, because this is the vision that, that blockchain kind of enables, is you to control your own assets. So yeah, I mean, look, KuCoin and Binance, I do not hold assets on any other centralized exchange right now. I've not touched Coinbase in 2 years. I won't. Coinbase sell your data to CIA and to, companies who are trying to build tools to stop us from having fun. So, I haven't touched Coinbase. I regrettably use Binance because, again, I just think that time's kind of approaching. It's nearly over. But centralized exchanges will always have a place, right? Especially big liquidity, because they're necessary for big players and institutions to trade. You can't trade a thin order book on a DEX or on Uniswap if you're
Right.
if you're trading with hundreds of thousands of dollars. You just can't. It takes weeks or months to accumulate.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're buying like 1 or 2 ETH at a time with 3% slippage. No, people don't do that. So this is the thing you have to understand as well, is if you get into them assets while they're not liquid, when the big players do come in with the liquidity, that's when you exit. You're selling to them. And that's why I'm bullish on these lower cap projects which haven't found their, they haven't found their spot yet.
Define lower cap.
I mean, look, I don't want to tell people to buy super because it's dangerous. It really is. I mean, there's rug pulls on Uniswap every day, and because it's a DEX, well, you can list any token contract. You can just make a scam coin in 2 days, flip up a Medium page and a website, and you can call your project DeFi or privacy DeFi, and you list at an initial price of like 10 cents. With minimal liquidity, and someone posts on 4chan, and suddenly it's done like a 10 or 20x in 2 days. And then what you could do is pull all of the team's liquidity from Uniswap, and you just leave a bunch of people holding this token, which is completely worthless. And you've taken all the ETH out the pool because you were backing the ETH pool, or you sold into it. So, I mean, I really wouldn't look kind of below 1 mil unless you have a real appetite for risk. And some of the projects on KuCoin have like 1 or 2 mil cap.
Yeah.
So, if you are looking for lower caps, but do your research. I mean, things like, even if you don't know what GitHub is or how to look at code, check that the team have one, maybe, because a lot of these teams on these dexes, they don't have any code. They have an anonymous team, and, they're never going to ship anything.
And they don't really have an intent to ship anything.
Yeah, they just want to take your money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got, Bitcoin talk, 4chan is, kind of the devil's playground. The information there, you got to be able to decipher. GitHub's a good resource. I mean, Twitter is a great way to find, I think, projects that are, starting to get mentioned 100%. And may have some validity. But there you got to be careful too, right? The bigger the account, and Scott had talked about this, any token that you mention is probably going to pump because of your follower, your follower list, right? So you're talking about it to 50, 100,000 people. Well, chances of those projects pumping.
Yeah, especially in this market, because people are looking for that as a buy signal.
Correct.
If they see someone tweet, they're like, this is a buy signal, because everyone else sees it as one. And then you've got this crowd, this herd mentality, everyone piles in, and the pump's even bigger. I mean, in a bear market, you can tweet about a coin and it might move like, a few percent, but it might not even be related to the tweet. But in this market, everyone sees that as a buy signal. So you have to be careful. And this is why, I have a small account. I only have I had 5,500 followers for the past year and a half. And then this week I've gone from like 5.5 to 6.5 nearly in a week.
Congrats,
and that just shows the market. But I want to keep my account small because I want to talk about low cap projects. And I want to be able to talk about why I like them in a fundamental way without moving the price. And like Aleph, for example, oh my God. I mean, I've been buying this thing for a month since 5 cents. It hit like 20 cents or more on Uni. And, a few big accounts started mentioning it. And I have this kind of fear like, oh man, we're kind of pumping it. But that's the market. It's a small market. Capital moves quickly. So, and I am very bullish on Aleph, and I don't intend to dump any. I know the team very well, working closely with them. So that's why I talk about it,
So dude, let's talk about that. We haven't really got into what you actually do, right? Aside from, you know, raking it in on a lot of these shitcoin projects and token projects that you're working on and with and trading. So what are you doing when you're not heading to the charts?
Well, you know what's funny? I haven't looked at a chart in about 2 months. I haven't. I trade purely fundamentals, and I just trade flow of capital. I just see where money's going and who's bullish. So, and Uniswap doesn't have charts. We have got a website which allows you to trade on Uniswap. It shows you some basic chart, but I'm terrible at trading. I've never been good at it. In the bear market, I worked, I do a lot of consulting, help projects build strategy, community, and do marketing. So connecting them, we have a PR firm, a PR agency as part of Launch Team, which is a company I'm partner at. Launch Team is, we launch things. We have a subsidiary called Block Team Ventures, which is a blockchain consulting firm. But Launch Team launches books, apps, products, product lines, and entire companies. Basically we grow and launch stuff, and that includes blockchain companies. I've been like a researcher and an analyst before, and I try and kind of bridge the gap between the technology team and the marketing team, so that you can make a compelling story that fits the current narrative. Like, for example, right now is DeFi, is identity, it's governance. Look, I don't kind of fit myself into a box because I love doing a lot of stuff, but really I'm just kind of a strategist and trying to be a growth hacker.
Launch Team. And I mean, obviously I know a little bit about what you guys are working on behind the scenes. You guys have got some big things going on, and a lot of the projects that are out there, I think, could do well to get to know you guys and what you're doing, because it's usually beneficial, right? I know us at Hashrate, we've talked to you guys, and excited to see where that goes. But man, as this is Bullish AF, and we really are just talking about the hype and all the positivity that's going on in the market, it's a great time to be able to talk, because things are moving up, man. Like when everything is going well, these are the best conversations to have. I've enjoyed our talk today.
For sure.
Is there any like last thought that you'd like to leave people with as we're continuing to move through these markets?
Yeah, I think it's really important that you don't get too greedy, and that you always trying to learn about, the things that you're putting money into, or, the narratives behind them, because even if you don't know much about the project, it's important to know why it's pumping and why the capital is there. So, keep reading, keep learning, follow smart people. Don't just follow bulltards. Don't buy on 4chan posts. It's all fun and games until it's not anymore, and it's very easy to get burned, especially when you're trading on dexes. So yeah, I just always urge people just to keep learning and try and understand why this is happening, because it was written in stone from the beginning that this would eventually happen.
Awesome. Great words to leave things off with. I appreciate you for joining me today, Charles. Thanks for coming on.
It's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man, we'll have to do it again. And to all of the viewers out there, hope you guys are enjoying Bullish AF, our new Hashrate Media production. Got a few more in the pipe that are going to be coming out on the Hashrate YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're watching this on Twitter right now, go over and subscribe to Hashrate's YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/C/Hashrate. And until next time, everyone, stay bullish out there. Thanks for tuning in to Bullish AF, a Hashrate Media production. If you enjoyed this video, remember to smash that thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. Also, turn on notifications so that you are made aware every time Hashrate releases a new piece of content. You can count on us to provide you with the best interviews and the most actionable information to help you better navigate these cryptocurrency and Bitcoin mining markets. Please remember that all information shared by Hashrate Media on Bullish AF or any of our other media properties is strictly for informational and entertainment purposes. It is not to be taken as financial advice. We are not financial advisors, and we do not presume to give you information that you should be trading on. So do your own research for everything that we discuss. All we're here for is entertainment value, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. Also, if you head over to hashrate.com, you can register for difficulty adjustment, the best email on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and mining. By registering, you are eligible for Hashrate's weekly giveaway of a Ledger Nano S. All you have to do is go to hashrate.com, register your email email address, you will automatically be entered into that contest to win a Ledger Nano S each and every week. So go ahead and do that today. There's a link in the show's notes to make it very easy for you. Thank you all again for tuning into the show. And until next time, everyone, stay bullish.